What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Coach Peanut and the Nutty Bunch Sports Talk Show. We are brought to you this week by Blue Collar Media Group. And before we get into talk about the World Series preview here, I got a short little video to play for everybody to let you know kind of who BCMG is.
How you play the game.
Well, that guy is just literally yeeting himself around here, okay? Hey, bruh!
That's it. Okay.
There you go, Gone Tower's dead.
Oh, fellow.
Get him.
Got him.
Beautiful.
Why are the fireworks still shooting at me? Is this entertainment for the penguins?
I'm going, Daddy.
Oh my god, I missed!
You fucking threw it on the wall.
Dude, shut up. I know.
You threw it on the wall.
All right, so tonight is the big night, World Series game number 1 tonight. So I've got a few guests on me with me to talk about that. So we got Gene and Matt. So Gene, why don't you introduce yourself?
Gene Collins. I'm from Portsmouth, Ohio. I've been in fantasy baseball leagues since I was probably 17 years old. I'm now almost 50. Not that that's a good thing.
A couple years there.
I've seen it come and go with all the different athletes, different eras. The one we're in right now, it's more of a power hitting era against the slight pitching the team may have. But looking forward to seeing what we got to say about these Braves.
Yeah.
And these Astros tonight. See what we can get going on with that with the firepower.
Yeah. How's it going, Matt?
Hey, I'm Matt. Out here in the Pacific Northwest, Seattle area. I'm originally from out east, Marlins fan, but I've had the Mariners grow on me a little bit. We actually had postseason fever in Seattle for about a week. Seattle was in the wild card hunt entering the final weekend of the year until the Angels took 2 of 3. And yeah, postseason fever is gone again, but I'm always a fan every year. Watch the World Series. Some of my Marlins go ahead and put the rings on a couple different times, but usually root for the National League. I think this year I'll also be rooting for the National League as well. Still not sure yet, though.
Not going to root for the Astros, huh? So at first glance, when you look at the World Series this year, we have the Astros have been to the playoffs 6 out of the last 7 years. And then you got the Braves who, have 88 wins coming into the playoffs, which is the lowest out of any team that was in the playoffs this year. So obviously right off the bat, you think it's a mismatch, right? Do you guys got any thoughts on who's going to win right off the bat? You don't have to give me predictions yet, but do you feel this is even going to be a close series?
I think the pitching is going to come down to what it matters on. That's always what it is in every game we watch. But with the Braves, you look at the division they're playing in. They're playing in a division where there's not a lot of hitters. So your games are won, 2-1, 3-1. You're not having to put up a lot of offense, but you're going up against the team now in the Astros that are putting up a ton of runs. And we're talking from the top of the lineup to the bottom.
Yeah,
every one of these guys can hit.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. And your pitching is really going to have to step forward and shut that offense down.
Yeah.
What do you think, man?
Yeah. So I think we've got 2 teams that have a huge chip on their shoulder this year. Like the largest chip on anybody's shoulder this year is the Astros and the Braves. The Astros have the, hey, we're not cheaters chip. Yeah. And they've used that as a motivator for a couple of seasons now. But this year, they really did it with live audiences everywhere. I saw the Astros earlier this year in Seattle. Every time Altuve came to the plate, every time Carrera came to the plate, the whole crowd just booed them. Yeah. It was actually quite fun. But they've been experiencing this for all of this season. So they have that chip of we're not cheaters. Dusty Baker helps them use it as a motivating factor to win some games. Now Atlanta has the we lost the All-Star game chip. And so they've also got the world hates us, but we're going to keep winning anyways chip. So I think that the records are thrown out the window and the teams are just playing from the we've got something to prove mindset. if you look at the lineup, like Atlanta has the better lineup. Atlanta might be comparable if they had Acuna still, but for the most part, their lineup is not the same. But yeah, I think it's just all about the chip on the shoulders this year, and it's not the X's and the O's.
Yeah, I mean it's the 5th straight year that the Astros have went to the American League Championship, and they've won. This will be the 3rd year that they've actually won the American League Championship. So, I mean, you got to think, cheating aside. I mean, we all know that there's the cheating scandal, but they're on a pretty historic dominant run here. I mean, to make it that many times, they're only the 3rd franchise in Major League history to ever do this, to be that consistently in the championship game. And the only players left from the 2017 trash can team, if you want to call it that, is Altuve, Correa, Yuli Gurriel, and Alex Bregman. So this is a whole new team. Now, whether they're using the same practices or not, we don't know. But, there was someone that came out and accused them of it not too long ago, too. I think it might have been the White Sox, maybe, that accused them of cheating again. But like Gene mentioned, they've scored 67 runs in only 10 postseason games. So it takes a lot to beat when you're averaging almost 7 runs a game. That's a lot in baseball, I mean, that's and 45 of those runs have come with 2 outs. So that's when, it doesn't matter how many outs you have when you have that many good hitters, you can still drive in the runs. They have the lowest strikeout rate in the majors in all of the whole season. So when you look at what supposedly is their weakest link, it's their bullpen coming into this, not their closer, but just overall bullpen. And the way they've performed in the playoffs so far is they've pitched 25 and 2/3 innings, only allowed 14 hits, had 28 strikeouts, 8 walks, only given up 3 homers, and have a 1.40 ERA. So if that's their weak link, then the Braves are in trouble. And if you don't, if you don't think the bullpens are important this year, the relievers have pitched 54% of the innings in the playoffs this year. It's crazy to think that, normally you'd think a starter is going to go 7, maybe 8 innings, and then you turn it over to your 8th and 9th inning guys. But relievers are coming in, early as the 4th inning in some of these games. And actually, it's down here in my notes, but in the American League Championship, the Astros didn't have anybody make it out of the 3rd inning in their starters, and they still won. But Dusty Baker, you mentioned Dusty Baker, Matt. He's 72. The last time he was in the World Series was 2002, which that makes him the 2nd longest streak in between World Series appearances by a coach, and the longest is 1925. They lost to the Giants back then, or they lost to the Angels in 7 games as he was coach of the Giants. But Dusty Baker is an important guy to have. He has a lot of experience, but I know everybody always says that he chokes in the postseason. But, he's 12th all-time in regular season wins, and all 11 people above him have a World Series championship. And all 11, except for Bruce Bochy, are in the Hall of Fame. So this is important for him to get that ring, I'm sure. Just so he can get in that names list of, I want to be in the Hall of Fame. I want that World Series ring, so.
Do you think having Dusty Baker as your coach is that big of an advantage?
I mean, I do. And only because if I think, because I'm an Indians fan, and I think of the difference between having people like Manny Acta and some of the other coaches we had before that, and getting then Terry Francona, the whole team changed. I mean, it was a whole different mindset. He's a winning coach. And he comes in there, and just the Indians were just mediocre back then. So it just changes everything. And you have a coach like Dusty Baker that can win, and he knows what he's doing. But whatever reason, he's jinxed in the postseason. But he's a winner. I mean, I think it's got to help. What do you think, Matt?
Dusty's the right guy for this team. He's the kind of coach the players can rally behind. He says the right thing. He's not an analytics guy. He's not I'm going to be smarter than you guy. He is we've got a team who has something to prove. Let's all rally together and prove it. And I don't know if you've noticed, but he's deflected the media all season. Yeah. Even that White Sox comment, the White Sox pitcher who was calling out like, hey, at least we don't cheat like the Astros.
Right.
Dusty went right for that. Dusty has provided a shield to that storyline all season long. And they've got the leadership on the team anyways, like Altuve, Carrera, their leaders. You mentioned Gurriel, some of the others who've been there for a few years. But Dusty has made that a non-distraction by the way he's carried himself.
Yeah, I mean, it's big to have someone like that with experience. I believe. I mean, it's a lot better than having someone that only has a couple years experience or something like that. I mean, look at the difference in your team, the Red Sox, Gene, when they got I can't think of his name. I'm talking about Cora.
Alex Cora.
Look what the difference is when he left, even though it was a cheating scandal, and when he come back. Look at the difference in that team now. I mean, I know there's some injury issues, but that team is a whole different team now. And of course, they came up a little short, but it's a lot better team now with him than it was without him.
But they weren't even expected to be where they're at.
No.
You got to think predictions had them next to last in the whole division, let alone the American League.
Yeah.
And the reason I asked you the question about Dusty was this. I think the Astros brought him in because there was going to be such a distraction with the cheating scandal. Why not put the focus on Dusty, leave the players alone, and then look how they've produced.
Oh, yeah.
If you put me out on the field and you got beat booed all the time, I'm not going to be able to put forth my 100% best effort.
Yeah.
And this team has.
Yeah.
I mean, they're averaging so many runs. If I was coaching softball or something, I would be telling the team, I don't need more hitters. I need new pitchers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
that's
agree.
what they're playing against.
Yeah. So let's look at the flip side. Let's go to Atlanta for a little bit. You go all the way back to July 10th. They lost Acuna to torn ACL, and then they lost the next day. So that puts them at the All-Star break with a losing record of 44-45. So this right here makes them the fourth team ever to make the World Series with a losing record at the All-Star break. So they could easily packed it in and said, "Oh man, we lost him, our best player. We're done." But no, the GM goes out and makes moves. July 15th, he traded the Cubs for Jock Peterson. Then on the trade deadline, he traded for Eddie Rosario from the Guardians now. Got Adam Duvall from Miami, Matt's team. We got Jorge Soler from Kansas City, and they basically gave up nothing for all of those players. I mean, literally nothing, just some minor league players that haven't done anything. And if you look at Eddie Rosario's cost, it's crazy to think all they did was give up Pablo Sandoval, which we know is nothing anymore, and a salary dump. And the Indians literally cut him like the next day. And the Indians paid them $500,000 to take Eddie Rosario's contract. Yes. And so what does he do? He goes out and he just won the National League Championship MVP. He batted .560 with 3 homers and 9 RBIs. So they basically got paid to take this MVP. You say, here you go. And Jorge Soler, Adam Duvall, they've all done great with them. I mean, Soler has really turned around a lot with them. I don't know for sure their contracts, if they're actually there next year, but they probably want to look into it. But Atlanta, they didn't even have a winning record until August 6th. And, so for them to get the World Series is crazy. This is the first time since 2015 that a team without 100 wins made the World Series. So, Atlanta goes through Milwaukee, 97 wins. They beat the Dodgers, that has 106 wins. A team with 88 wins coming into the season. And just like I talked about, the Houston's bullpen, Atlanta's bullpen in the playoffs has done just as much. Against the Dodgers, the heavily paid, almighty Dodgers, they went 16 innings, only give up 4 hits, 5 walks, 23 strikeouts, no homers to that team, and a 1.13 ERA. So, that bullpen really destroyed the Dodgers. It's crazy to think.
Goes to show you that pitching can offset major hitting.
Yeah, pitching definitely can win.
I think we spoke a little bit ago about you're not having to pitch the big innings into the game. So they're putting out 3 pitchers to pitch 3 innings apiece.
Yeah.
Where your other pitchers are coming in trying to pitch 7 innings, then bring relievers in.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my crazy dog in the background.
I hear it. That's all right. It's okay.
So winning the East, I think Atlanta built a roster to win the NL East, right? Like, not a ton of competition. The Marlins and the Nationals were just gone. Phillies had some hope. Mets totally underachieved all year long. So I think Atlanta built a roster good enough to win the East. And once you get your ticket to the postseason, it's just who's hot at the right time.
Exactly.
And Atlanta's just been riding the hot streak. They got Freddie Freeman, right? Like, Freddie Freeman is a Hall of Famer. And you can never discount a team that's bringing a Hall of Famer to the plate as like the cleanup hitter, the first base. Like, the dude is the man. Yeah. And so it's him and a bunch of nobodies. And I think they're okay with that. Who cares what their regular season record was? They're hot in October. That's all you need.
None of those games matter at this point. Right now they've got 7 games at the most. It doesn't matter how many games they've won before, lost before, who gave up what. It's all, you got a fresh slate right here. It's who can perform the best, basically. So let's go down position by position and see what you guys think. Who's better? I'm going to tell you what they've done, and you tell me which one's better. Okay, so we got catcher. Houston has Martin Maldonado, who batted 172 with 12 homers, 36 RBIs. Travis d'Arnaud went 220, 7 homers, 26 RBIs. Does either one have an advantage there, according to you guys?
I think d'Arnaud has the advantage just for the fact he's a more established player. You kind of throw the stats out when it's a player like that compared to Maldonado.
Mm-hmm.
He's been in the league longer. He's faced so many different teams, different arrangements with the hitting. I think he's got the advantage of that.
What do you think, Matt?
So I actually rostered both of these guys in fantasy baseball this year. So I've got a lot of experience with how they performed.
Yeah.
So d'Arnaud was a great hitter last season, hence the reason I carried him over to my roster this year, but he's missed a lot of time.
He did.
He actually came back in late August, and he never really picked it up. Even when he came back, he was still getting his feet under him. Maldonado has been streaky all season long. He's in the Astros lineup, which produces a ton of runs. And I feel like Maldonado is a better defensive catcher. So I'm going to say advantage Maldonado just because d'Arnaud hasn't figured it out yet this year from missing so much time. And Maldonado can have some big hits. I think he even had a couple ribbies in the postseason already. So I'm going to go with him. Yeah,
I'm only going to go with Maldonado for defensive reasons because d'Arnaud, he couldn't throw out anybody in the championship game. I mean, he literally, I think it was like 80% steal rate against him when Maldonado is actually a really good defensive catcher. So I think in catcher, it's kind of like a kicker. You don't really care about the offense. Really, it's catchers. You're lucky if they just get a hit. So I mean, I'm going to have to go with Maldonado just for that reason alone. So what we'll do is we'll go to. I forgot to click on one thing. Sorry. There we go. So what we'll do now is go to first base, and Yuli Gurriel batted .319 with 15 homers, 81 RBIs, and Freddie Freeman batted .300, 31 homers, 83 RBIs. So Matt, who's got the advantage there?
I'm going to go Freddie Freeman all the way. He's the heart of that lineup.
Mm-hmm.
The fact he only had 80-some RBIs, I think, is just a product of the Braves not scoring as many as the Astros. Put him in that lineup. He's easily a 100 RBI guy. His batting average is down a little bit too, but I feel like his numbers were picking up in the second half. And I think he's even been a little cold in the postseason as well. But at the end of the day, big players get big hits, and that's what he's going to do.
Yeah. Gene, what do you think?
I kind of disagree with that one too. We're just having difference of opinions.
Oh yeah, that's what it's for.
With Gurriel, you're looking at a guy he's been there. He's established himself every game they played in the playoffs. He's not had to come up big like Freeman. Freeman's had to come up and get that hit. He's been left in that situation where he's had to get it. Freeman has got that hit so far, but look at what Gurriel's established himself to getting over time. He's been there before. Freeman hasn't. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I've only got to go. I'm going to side with Matt on this one too. I guess I just like Freddie Freeman a lot better than Gurriel. I don't know. I just think Freddie Freeman might be better overall. I mean, defensive wise too. I like Freddie Freeman. So second base, this one is a little closer than what I thought once I started looking at it. But you got Jose Altuve, batted .277 with 31 home runs, 83 RBIs, and 5 stolen bases. Then you got over in Atlanta, you got Ozzie Albies with .259, 30 homers, 106 RBIs, and 20 stolen bases. So, Gene, you got one you like better than the other here?
On this one, if we could put health into it, I think if Albies can stay healthy, I think he can be a lot better. But right now, he can't stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And Altuve's proved he can play through animosity, controversy. I mean, there's nobody in baseball that's had more of a chip on his shoulder all year long than Jose Altuve. I mean, this guy's had to carry that barrel on his back from day one, and he's done it. And until they prove that they can take it away from him, I think you got to go with him.
Yeah.
What about you, Matt?
Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Altuve here. I mean, Albies clearly has a path to being a great player in the long run. This season, probably his best season. But Altuve has been doing it for a long time. You know what you're going to get. You're going to get somebody who comes up with big hits, somebody who can. He doesn't really steal as much anymore, but he has some power, and he comes up with the big play in the postseason. Like over the last 5 years, we've seen Altuve have some great moments. And I mentioned Dusty Baker is the guy who keeps all of the garbage can cheating scandal away. Well, Altuve is the lightning rod for it. He's the one who actually has to put up or shut up. And he's had a phenomenal season. Now, he actually had a pretty down year last year. Like, I've had him in fantasy for a few years now. His numbers were down last year, which people instantly assumed was because the garbage can scandal. But his numbers have picked right back up this year. So he's the kind of player that is motivated by fans either cheering for him or booing him. But give me a team with Jose Altuve as my second baseman, and I'll show you a franchise who's going to make the playoffs for a lot of years to come.
I'm also going with Altuve, and another reason why is because his on base percentage is 40% higher than Albies. I mean, you got the great batting average for both of them, but when you get on that base that much more and as fast as he can be, I mean that's a lot of more runs, potential. And with that hitting lineup that they got, getting on base is really big for that.
Most definitely.
So, I mean, that's a clean sweep. And we also have Gene here, which is the owner of the Blue Collar Media Group. He picks Altuve. Surprisingly enough, he's in Houston. So, that's why he's, of course, picking Altuve. Actually Texas, whatever. But left field, this one here, this one's kind of a toss-up to me because you got Michael Brantley, which I'm a homer of. I got his autograph. My daughter's got his autograph. I love him. So he batted .311 with 8 homers, 47 RBIs. Nothing big, but he's great at defense. He's a super great defensive player. You got Eddie Rosario, only batted .259 with 14 home runs, 62 RBIs. But we talked about it earlier. He is smoking hot right now, and you've got to throw all this other stuff out for the regular season because what it matters is coming into tonight, who's hotter. So, I mean, who's got the advantage here? You got Brantley, the veteran, or Rosario? He's pretty much a veteran too. So, Matt, who you got there?
I'm going to go with Brantley. I'm not blown away by either one of these players. Brantley has been solid for a few years now. He definitely had some good years earlier in his career. Rosario has been an average player for most of his career. That's why Atlanta got him for pretty much nothing. In the past, I've experienced some players just have phenomenal postseason series, even to the point they bat 500 across 7 games. They win an MVP for that particular series, but I don't remember a player carrying it over for consecutive series very often. Rosario for Tampa is an exception. Like, he had a phenomenal postseason from game 1 to the end of the World Series last year. Yeah. But I don't see Rosario carrying it over. I think he bats under 300 this series. He probably even doesn't start every game. Is my thought.
It's very possible he doesn't start every game because they've got such a crowded outfield. If he's cold, you got to get him out of there. You can't afford to go down in 2 or 3 games. Just because someone's cold, and you don't want to put someone else in like Soler or Duvall or whatever, whoever. So, Gene, what do you think?
I think that it comes down to the fact that they're going to play who is the hotter player. Mm-hmm. And what you just said about having Duvall and having Soler that they can interchange with him, I think that gives Rosario a little bit of an oomph to pushing forward to stay hot, to prove what he can prove, because he's only on a 1-year contract.
Yeah,
he's got to prove something, or he's not going to be out of a job.
Yeah,
that's the only reason I would pick him. I would pick him just for that fact.
And like we talked about right before going on air, is Atlanta is probably thinking in the back of their head, do we give him a huge contract just because of what he's doing now? I mean, we also just signed this guy named Marcell Ozuna to a huge contract for the same exact reason, and that didn't work out too well.
You're right.
And Matt, all about him too. So, I mean, but yeah, myself, it's such a toss-up, but I've got to go with Brantley also. So I just have to because I like him so much. But center field, all right, we got Chaz McCormick, who batted .257, 14 homers, 50 RBIs, 4 stolen bases. He's a rookie, but a defensive stud. I mean, this guy, I don't know if you've seen many highlights of him, and not a lot of people have, but he is phenomenal at defense. But then you got on the other side, the flip side of that, you got Adam Duvall, who batted 228, 38 homers, and 113 RBIs. So I think center field, you guys are going to have to decide, do you want a great defensive player or do you want this guy with 38 home runs in the middle of your lineup? Which one's more important to you, Gene?
In the World Series, I'm going to go with the defense. Just for the fact they've got a lot of hitting around him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the defense is going to come a lot more into play now. Other with Duvall, I mean, Duvall's going to be a home run or a strikeout.
Yep.
I mean, that's the way you look at him. And I think that at this point, you've got to go with some defense to back up those pitchers because you're going to score a lot of runs, but you got to stop the other team from scoring anything also.
Oh, yeah.
You disagree again on me, Matt?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I've got to go with my boy Duvall. So Duvall this year was obviously a Marlin, right? And he was actually leading the National League with RBIs when the Marlins traded him to Atlanta.
Right.
I watched probably 2/3 of those Marlins games when he was in that lineup. And he's finds a way to drive in the run. He finds a way to strike out a lot. There's times where Duvall comes up to the plate and you're like, he'd win the game if he could drive that guy in from third and he strikes out. Like, he's not going to come through for you every time, but anybody who drives in that many runs is going to find a way to win you like a 2-1 baseball game, a 3-2 baseball game with that crucial sac fly in the 6th inning that turns out to be the difference. So I'm going to say advantage Duvall, just because some of those runs win baseball games, and a couple of them in this game are going to happen. And oh, by the way, when the Marlins gave up 29 runs last season, I'm pretty sure Duvall hit like 4 home runs that game, so he can absolutely get hot.
Well, let's also consider about Duvall real quick. He was so good, the Reds cut him and put him into the minor leagues.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of goes back to the other point that we made earlier, too. If the Astros are scoring almost 7 runs a game, you've got to have a Duvall in your lineup that's going to hopefully get you 1-2 runs, just by having him in the lineup, because they can't afford to go down. Atlanta can't afford to go down like a 6-0, 7-0. I mean, they've got good hitters, but I just don't think they're a powerful hitting lineup as much as the Astros are. I mean, they've got great pitching, but we'll get to that. We got right field. We got Kyle Tucker, who I've got the huge main crush on right now because I've got him signed long-term in both my leagues. He's batting .294 with 30 homers, 92 RBIs, and 14 stolen bases. And by the way, he already has 4 home runs in the postseason already. You're going against Jock Peterson, who's going to be the starting right fielder in Atlanta, batting .238, 18 homers, and 61 RBIs. So, Gene, who's got the advantage in right field?
I think it's got to be Tucker. Peterson hasn't proven anything to me no matter where he's played. He was on the Dodgers. He couldn't get it done there. I think they actually released him. And did he get released or traded?
I think they released him, and then nobody picked him up, and then they re-signed him, and then they traded him to the Cubs. I'm pretty sure that's how that worked.
I think you're right. I think they picked him back up just to do the trade.
But the Dodgers had so many outfielders at that time, they just had no room for him, and he wasn't getting consistent playing time. I cannot think of the name of the outfielder that went to the Reds. He was on the Dodgers and went to Puig. Now he's out of work too. So I mean, they just had so many outfielders at the Dodgers. He just never fit in, and he didn't really do much at the Cubs either. But he's kind of turned it on lately. I think he's had a good postseason. I don't have his numbers, but I thought he's had a good postseason so far.
I'm not sure what his numbers were, but I know that Tucker stayed very hot, and he's been consistent all the way through into the playoffs.
Tucker started off ice cold, and his numbers have gotten better and better every month. So what do you think, Matt? Who's got the advantage there?
Kyle Tucker all the way. So Kyle Tucker's not a household name yet. You gave his stats. He's a household name for you, but this is a prospect who has delivered on what a prospect's supposed to deliver on. He might have a household name by the end of this series. If not, give it 5 years. Kyle Tucker is going to have his name up there at the top outfielders in all of baseball. Jock Peterson, career platoon guy. He only bats, I don't know, against lefties or righties or whatever platoon he is. He decided he's a guy who can play every day. To me, that's why he left LA. He wanted to prove to the world he can play every day. and he didn't get it done for the Cubs. And they're like, you can't play every day, buddy. They got rid of him, shipped him to Atlanta because they had a need. And Atlanta's using him for platoon again. So, like, he's a platoon guy who can get the occasional big home run, but he's not going to be making any all-star teams anytime soon. Kyle Tucker, on the other hand, you can probably pencil him in for the all-star game the next 5 years.
Oh, yeah, easy. Yeah. Yeah. So then, you know, we don't have this in every game or every, you know, because DH, we will have a DH in this series some. So you got on Houston, they got Yordan Alvarez batting 277, 33 home runs, 104 RBIs. Atlanta is probably going to be using Soler, depending on their whole outfield lineup, but he's batting 223 with 27 homers, 70 RBIs. So Matt, you got a favorite there?
So first of all, let's say that there should be a DH every time.
Yes,
I am team DH everywhere in baseball. So, but assuming that we're going to call Soler a DH in Atlanta this year, I would say advantage Soler. Soler is a guy who's going to hit some home runs and do a bunch of strikeouts, but he's hit more home runs than usual the last couple seasons. Atlanta needs a couple big bats that can pop for some home runs. I think Soler is going to be that. So I'm going to say advantage Soler.
Yeah, because I think he led the league in home runs, not last year because it was a short season, but the year before that, I'm pretty sure he led the league in home runs in American League with Kansas City, I'm pretty sure. So, Gene, what do you got?
Here goes the flip side.
It's great. I love the difference.
I'm more of Alvarez. I mean, Alvarez is in that lineup where he's got the higher average, which puts him on base more often for the guys to drive him in. I mean, that's part of your 7 runs a game. You got to have guys on base to drive him in. And I feel like Alvarez he's a younger guy. He's hungry. You know, he's on base all the time. For Soler, on the other hand, you know, yes, he does lead the league in home runs, but I think at that same time, I think he also led the league in strikeouts.
Oh, he probably did. I wouldn't doubt that a bit.
And that's not something you want to look at right now when you're in the World Series.
No, not when it's either strikeout or home run. I mean, because you can't always count on that home run, but pitchers can definitely make you strike out if that's all you do. So yeah, now we'll go to pitching.
You didn't pick.
I didn't pick. I'm sorry. I'm going with Alvarez. I do like Alvarez better than Soler, only because he's got a higher batting average and a higher on base percentage. And to me, every time you get on base in the World Series, it's just huge. I mean, because every run is so hard to get in the World Series. I mean, I know Houston averages 6.5 runs a game, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say they don't hit 6 runs more than 2 games. I don't think they'll. I think these games are going to be a low-scoring game on each game. It's so tight on all the talent. I don't see it being a blowout either way. And we'll get into predictions too. But I think it's going to be a great series. And like I mentioned earlier, the Houston in the American League Championship, they didn't have a pitcher make it past 3 innings in any of the games. So their bullpen has got to be worked a little bit here. And I know they've had a few days break since I think they played Friday, maybe. I think it's the last day they played. So tonight's matchup is Framber Valdez, who went 11-6 in 134 innings, had 125 strikeouts, 58 walks, had a 3.14 ERA. So Charlie Morton, on the other hand, is the Atlanta pitcher tonight, went 14-6, 185 innings, 216 strikeouts, only 58 walks, and had a 3.34 ERA. After tonight, they had only have a Houston pitcher listed yet, even though they have some quality starters. You know, you got Zach Greinke, Luis Garcia, Jose Urquidy, but nobody knows who's going to pitch when. So you can't. It's hard to match up against. You know, you got Charlie Morton, you got Max Fried that went 14-7. 165 innings, 158 strikeouts with a 3.04 ERA. Ian Anderson, only 9-5, 128 innings, 124 strikeouts, 3.58 ERA. So Atlanta's got 3 main pitchers, and you can throw in Drew Smiley. They've got Touki Toussaint or a couple other pitchers that I just don't see them using any of them. I mean, I really think this is going to be a 3-man rotation because they don't want to go down. I mean, maybe they'll go with Drew Smiley. He's the best out of the rest of them. But, you know, I mean, who's got the better starting staff, Matt? Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh,
I'll tell you who's not going to be here. is the old Houston Astros. No Verlander, no Cole.
No.
They have Greinke and nobody. So I really think that Houston in the past has leaned on really strong starting pitching, some of the top aces in all of baseball. That's not a strength of this year's team for the very first time.
No.
That being said, I think Houston still has the better starting pitching. It's a lot closer than it has been in the past, but Houston still has the better starting pitching, but it's a lot closer than we're used to seeing in the World Series for this team.
Yeah, I mean, Gene, what do you think?
I think it comes back to the Dusty Baker factor. I think he manages the pitching staff really well. I think his demeanor when it comes to who's going to be on the mound and how long you're going to leave him there, I think his experience really has a lot to go with this. And, like Matt said, the staff's even with the staff being better, Dusty's going to know how to use them. Atlanta has 3 starting pitchers, and I wouldn't be surprised if they don't use each one of them 3 innings.
Yeah.
That's just the way I look at it. Atlanta's going to do everything they can. They'll do everything they can to get a win. They're going to try to get out on top and win tonight with everything they can do. And I don't think it's going to be that hard for Houston to do. I don't think they're going to have to pitch around different aspects like Atlanta's going to have to.
Yeah, I mean, Houston's lineup stacked. I mean, there's no arguing that from top to bottom. There's not a weak spot in that batting lineup at all.
One more thing to add to this. For those who haven't been watching this postseason or the postseason the last couple of years, welcome to the world of the opener and the bullpen session, the bullpen game. This is the world we live in now. If you've got 2 or 3 starting pitchers you like, you use 2 or 3 starting pitchers, and then you just use the hell out of your bullpen the rest of the way through. If the starting pitcher went really deep into a game for you, you intentionally don't use the starting pitcher the next day. So I think the question over who has the best rotation just doesn't matter anymore. The real question is who has the best bullpen, because the bullpen is going to win you 2 or 3 games anyways. And it's not like our 4 starters are better than your 4 starters. That does not matter at all. It's just the bullpen. Who can build the best bullpen? That is the team who probably has the best chance of winning based off of pitching in the World Series.
No, I agree. I mean, I think it starting pitching has went way down over the last 4, 5, 6 years. They don't pitch them as much. And being an Indians fan, back when they went to the World Series, literally they go into the World Series, Trevor Bauer, lovely, drone accident, and everybody else was hurt. They literally had Corey Kluber. That's it. That's their whole starting rotation. Nobody else. So they had Kluber and relievers. And that's their openers, and I don't know how they made it to the 7th game of that World Series. I really don't. And I mean, it was an awesome series. I mean, it goes down as, very memorable, but the days of starting pitchers going 7 or 8 innings, it just don't happen anymore unless they've got a no-hitter going, maybe a shutout with low pitch count, but it just, that pitch count, when they've got that number in their head, when it gets to a certain number, I don't care what inning it is, they're taking them out. It's just people are so worried about overusing their pitchers with Tommy John and saving pitchers and all this. It's just, I mean, you hit it right on the head. I mean, I bet you by game 2 or 3, Houston has a bullpen starting, day or whatever.
This year for Boston, I'm sorry.
No.
This year when Boston got Chris Sale back, Sale made the comment, I want to pitch more innings. They're taking me out in the 7th inning. I'll give up 1 run. I'm winning the game. They take me out, and I lose the game because the bullpen we put in. He said, if it's going to come down to my contract on winning and losing games, let me finish my games.
I'm glad he said that because it's true. I mean, you see – I can't stand when you see someone getting taken out, even if they have a no-hitter going. Just because they hit that 100-pitch count, you're out. I mean, it's crazy to think that, like you said, Sale – probably had a lot of strikeouts that game. Maybe he was there 100 or maybe a little bit more, but it's like, don't take him out. I mean, you see all these old days of pitchers pitching 10 innings or 11 innings, just
Nolan Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, Nolan Ryan. I mean, it's insane that they take him out so early.
There was a pitcher this year, I don't know exactly who it was, but he did have a no-hitter at the time, and they took him out.
He did, and they lost the no-hitter. Yeah.
I can't think of who it was.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I can't think either, but I'd be so pissed if I was that guy and you took me out and I had a no-hitter, a chance to get it. They took him out in the 8th, after the 8th inning, wouldn't let him finish the 9th. I mean, 1 more inning, what's it going to hurt? I mean, that's a once-in-a-lifetime chance.
The first batter that came up got a base hit.
Yeah. I mean, he's not happy.
No.
Yeah, one last thing on your 2016 Indians before we close this one out.
Yes.
You changed the game. Teams no longer care about which starting pitchers they have and is our 4-starter better than your 4-starter. Your Cleveland Indians said, let's get as many of the top 10 relievers in all of baseball on our roster and let's ride them through the postseason.
Yeah.
Aroldis Chapman, Andrew Miller. The way baseball works now is you get 10 teams who are in the hunt for the playoffs. The other 20 teams trade their closers to those first 10 teams.
Yeah.
And then they have a 7th inning guy, an 8th inning guy, a 9th inning guy. You have a long relief. Like, the starting rotation doesn't matter. Maybe you got 1 or 2 great starters, go for it. They're going to get you through the regular season. You want to win the World Series, you put as much money into that bullpen as you can.
Oh, yeah. Terry Francona did it that year. I mean, Andrew Miller was so dominant that year, but he didn't always put him in the 9th inning. If he had a situation where he had to use him in the 6th inning, to make sure you kept that lead, he'd put him in there. Pitch him 6th and 7th both or sometimes, but it's like he wasn't scared to just like let his reliever, you only can use him in the 9th inning. That's the only time the closer's coming out. I mean, it was crazy. And it's right. I mean, why not use the best pitcher you have, whether he's a reliever or a starter, whatever time you need him?
I agree.
It's so speaking of closers, so we got Houston's closer, Ryan Presley. He was 5-3. He had 26 saves. He only pitched 64 innings, had 81 strikeouts, 13 walks, and had a 2.25 ERA. Let me get Jim here real fast.
I'm
so Jim?
sorry, guys.
That's all right. You're fine. We're all the way down to the closers here. So
Okay.
You got Will Smith on the Braves, who was 3-7, 37 saves, 68 innings of work, 87 strikeouts, had a 3.44 ERA. So I didn't list all of the relievers on both teams because it's a big list. But which bullpen do you think is better? Gene, which one do you got? Do you got the Braves or the Astros?
Bullpen-wise, I think it's the Braves. Just because they've been in those situations all year to get those 88 wins.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Houston's, their closer's got, 23 saves?
Yeah, 26. Yeah.
26. Mm-hmm. He's not been in a situation where he's had to get a save.
Yeah.
They're winning games by 5 and 6 runs. He hasn't had to come into games. But now Atlanta has been in those situations all year long.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only plus that I would say that their pitching staff has. Matt, what do you think?
Matt?
Straight up closers, I'm going to say advantage Atlanta. I had Presley in fantasy baseball. He was serviceable. I mean, Houston was in some games. He had some save opportunities. But Will Smith's one of the best closers in baseball. I think people will be more excited about him coming into a game than they will the closer for the Astros there. But overall, I would say the Astros have the better bullpen. So I'm kind of splitting. I'm saying better closer Atlanta, better bullpen Astros. The Astros traded for the Mariners closer earlier in this year. Like I said, you take closers of teams who aren't going to make the playoffs and you make them your 8th inning guy.
Yeah.
Also, Dusty Baker and shuffling around different bullpen guys. I think more of the game plan Houston's used all season long. Plus, Houston's got some pretty good starting pitchers who will be used in relief on that team. I think Atlanta's going more with our starters are our starters, and Houston's more of like best arm up first. So I'm going to say the final bullpen numbers at the end of this postseason is going to be advantage Houston.
All right, Jim, do you got any comment on? I know you just joined, so I mean you missed all the other positions. Do you want to throw anything on closers?
Well, I'm hoping it's Atlanta, just due to the fact that they're used to their position. I noticed a lot this year that it seemed that starters would come back and get hurt for Houston. And granted, you're a starter, you have a little bit of advantage, I think. But I think when it comes to the bullpen, you're setting that role. You know where you're going. You know where you need to be. And I think that gives the player the advantage just because that's your area instead of where you're a starter and you're a good starter, but you're in the bullpen whenever they need you. I think it's the advantage to Atlanta because of their players are there.
Yeah, I'm so split on who's better as far as an overall bullpen and even on closers because, like Gene mentioned, Ryan Presley was dominant when he did get to pitch, but he didn't pitch as much as Will Smith, and Will Smith did cost them 7 games. But it's tough because he did pitch a lot more and a lot more saves. So this is a coin flip for me. So I'm rooting for Atlanta, so I'm going to pick Atlanta on this one. So again, it's a coin flip on this one. But overall, I think maybe the bullpen, the numbers might be slightly better in Houston as far as strikeouts and walks and ERA. But overall, I just think Atlanta's used their bullpen a lot more. So, Jim, sorry you missed everything, but we're down to basically our prediction part of the show. So I'll give you each a chance, and I'm going to write these down so you gets closest here. Gene, what's your prediction for this series? What's going to happen?
I think it's going to be really close, and I actually think it's going to go 7 games.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Atlanta's going to win.
So Atlanta in 7, huh?
Atlanta in 7.
You got any weird predictions you want to throw out there to see if you can get anything right? Any, off the wall stuff?
This will be funny. This will be a good one. I think in 7 games, I think overall Atlanta comes out scoring more runs overall than Houston.
More runs. All right. So who's going to be the MVP of the World Series? That's a tough one.
Freddie Freeman.
All right. All right, Matt, you're up. Who's going to win the World Series?
I don't know if you're keeping track on how many advantages I gave, but I have a feeling I said the Braves have more position-by-position advantage, but I'm going with the Astros in 6.
Astros in 6.
Yeah. Now, what I would love is to see another World Series where the home team loses every single game. That was such a phenomenally statistically rare occurrence.
Yes. Yes.
As far as this year's game goes, statistically rare occurrence that we can achieve. I'm going to say we see a baseball game go 14 innings. I'm going to say the fact that we don't start with a runner on second anymore means that we're going to have some longer extra innings game that we haven't seen in a couple years. And
is that rule gone? I didn't even realize that.
No runners start on second in the postseason.
Okay.
And I'm going to say we didn't see any regular season games go more than 11 or 12 innings this season. So I think we're going to see a 14-inning game, 14 or longer. Hell, if we get a 20-inning game, I'm going to be in heaven. It'll be the greatest day ever. But I'm going to say we see one game go at least 14 plus.
All right. Who's your World Series MVP?
It's the Kyle Tucker coming out party.
Kyle Tucker.
He's going to be a household name next year. Get ready for it.
He will. All right, Jim, you're up.
Well, I'll go with the Braves as well.
Okay.
They've been playing tough, tight games, and I think they have good pitching.
Mm-hmm.
They're a good ball team, and I think they have the opportunity. What I would like to see unique is I'd love to see the steal option come more on the table. I don't think we get enough stealing in baseball anymore like we used to when we were, wee lads.
Yeah, you're a long time ago. I know that's. I don't even remember. You were watching baseball when it was black and white.
Actually, I was because I didn't have cable. We moved to town in the 90s.
I remember sitting out my grandma's car listening to Indians games because they never were on TV.
Right.
So, you didn't say how many games? Braves in what?
Just to be different, I'll go 5. 5.
Braves in 5. And so you're saying there's going to be a lot of steals in the World Series. That's going to be your weird occurrence.
I'm hoping so. I'd like to see that. It just gives you that extra piece I think we're missing in baseball nowadays. I mean, steals just aren't what they used to be.
All right. So who's your World Series MVP if it's going to be over in 5?
Well, I would like to say Freddie Freeman, because he's on my fantasy team, but
right.
You
can still say him. You can still say him. I mean, that's...
No. I thought about it. I'm gonna go ahead and go Austin Riley.
Oh.
The boy's been hot this year, and I think he could definitely be a game changer.
We skipped over 2 positions when I was doing all these positions earlier. We're going to come back to that. We're going to come back after these positions, or my prediction. All right, so Grandma's Gamers here says Braves in 6. I want to pick the Braves so bad because I don't like the Astros, but the more I've listened to everybody talk, the more I've read everything here. I'm going to have to go Astros, and I'm going to go 7. I think this is going to be such a tight series. I don't see a lot of blowouts, and my weird prediction is is the Astros. They're averaging 6.5 runs a game right now in the postseason. They're not going to hit 6 more than once. So maybe once they'll hit 6, but no more than 6 once. And then my MVP, I hate to say the same as Matt, but Kyle Tucker is my MVP. But I'm going to go out on a limb and pick something else odd. Is the Astros have 2 bullpen games. I'm going to say 2 bullpen games, because they don't have as many starting pitchers. That's really great. So I think they're going to use, tonight's Framber Valdez, and then it's going to be. I bet you tomorrow. I'm going to go out on a limb. They may start somebody tomorrow, but then it's going to be a bullpen game. I can just see it. They're going to go with that great bullpen.
So you're going with Kyle Tucker as the MVP of the World Series on a losing team?
No. I picked the Astros in 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I guess that's technically possible. You could give MVP on a losing team, but yeah. So now, Jim, you get to do some position players, because as soon as we said Austin Riley, it made me think. I was like, we didn't even talk about Austin Riley because we skipped over shortstop and third.
On third base, yep.
So shortstop, Houston has Carlos Correa, batted .279, 26 homers, 92 RBIs. And Atlanta has Dansby Swanson, .248, 27 homers, 88 RBIs, and 9 stolen bases. So we'll just go around. Gene, does either one of those give an advantage to the team?
I think Correa does. And I think it's the same thing as Altuve. They both have those chips on their shoulder. He's wanting to prove what he can do. And I think overall in the World Series, I think he's going to come down. He's going to prove he can play.
Mm-hmm. He's got the whole.
Yeah.
Matt, what do you got?
Dansby Swanson has surprisingly turned into a really good shortstop. He had a lot of promise as a prospect, and people felt he did not hit those high expectations. But his stats show he's good. But he's also not about to be one of the hottest shortstops in the free agent market this coming offseason. So Carlos Correa is going to get paid this offseason, and he is going to use his audition during the World Series to show you why he looks good in pinstripes next year for the New York Yankees.
No. Oh, God. Jim, what do you got at shortstop, Correa or Swanson?
I think I'll go with Swanson, and I think there could be some of your steals.
Could be.
Good kid's a good player.
I'm going to have to go with Correa only because his on-base percentage was over 40 points higher. I mean, their batting average is similar, and they've got, Swanson has 1 more home run, so there's no advantage there. So, I mean, it's so close, but I'm going to say Correa because, like when I mentioned earlier, getting on base in the World Series is going to be huge. I think these are going to be some low-scoring games, maybe 1 blowout at the most, but I just think it's going to be huge. So third base, we got Alex Bregman. Only played 91 games this year, so his numbers are down. He batted .270 with only 12 homers, 55 RBIs, and only 1 stolen base. And then you got Austin Riley over here hitting .303 with 33 homers and 107 RBIs. So, Jim, who's got the advantage here?
Well, I got to go with Riley as I picked him to be the MVP.
Right.
That every time you turn around and I see Sports Center, he's hitting something to win a game or a key hit. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Riley.
All right. Matt, what do you got?
Alex Bregman's got great name recognition, but there's no denying those Austin Riley stats. He's going to bat in the middle of a lineup. He's going to drive some runs in. He's healthier. So I'm going to say Riley. Riley is the advantage, and Riley's going to be the better performer in the series.
Okay. Gene?
I agree completely.
We got a sweep here.
Yep.
Oh, I haven't even gave my prediction yet, but my spot. You go ahead. So you like Austin Riley better?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he comes out on top of all the categories in this one.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Bregman, like Matt mentioned, he's got the name, but he's just not been healthy all year. And even when he's been healthy, his numbers don't compare to Austin Riley, this year. And that's what we're talking about is this year. Tonight is the night. That's all that matters. The whole season doesn't matter. Your whole career behind you doesn't matter. It's tonight, here in a few minutes.
Well, when you're in the World Series, I think names are thrown out anyway.
Yeah.
I think your production at the time, right now,
yeah,
I think that's what we got to talk about. These next 7 games, not the 162 we just got through with.
Right.
These next 7 games, how hot you can be in this next 7 games. And
Right, 'cause
coming into it, I think Austin Riley's the man.
There's so many World Series you look back at the MVPs, and there's always that one person that gets that key hit that you never expect. You know, what Matt, you're a Marlins fan. I don't know if you remember, but who was it that had that game-winning hit in their World? Was it Counsell?
Yeah,
Craig Counsell.
Counsell.
You know, who's he? You know what I mean?
Indians fans know that name. Don't kid.
Yes, I know him. Yes,
Block that out.
Yeah. Sorry, Matt. You cannot refer to them as the Indians. Technically, once the season's over, we are now the Guardians. So
we're still the Indians.
1997. You sure as hell were the Indians. I've got the T-shirt to prove it.
Yes, I remember that year quite well. Yes. So we've got the predictions. I've got them all written in stone here. We're going to come back next Tuesday. Next Tuesday is interesting because it could either be the recap of the World Series or we could still Game 6 is next Tuesday. The series could be over with by then, and we're going to be talking about what happened, or we're going to be previewing Game 6 or maybe even Game 7. Who knows? But I hope you guys can maybe come back next Tuesday at the same time, and we'll go over everything. And then once baseball is over, this is a baseball show, but we're going to lead into, we got some basketball to cover, we can still cover football, whatever. We got hockey, we can do some WWE, whatever you guys want to get into, I mean, Jim might know a little bit about WWE. I mean,
maybe a thing or two.
Or AEW, we can cover AEW, whatever, it's all open. So I want to thank each and every one of you guys for, being on here tonight and taking time out of your night. I really appreciate it. And what I'm going to do now is play the promotional video for the sponsor one more time. And you guys are free to go. I'll see you next week again. And thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Is how you play the game.
Well, that guy is just literally yeeting himself around here, okay? Hey, bruh!
That's it. Carry.
There you go, Gone Tower's dead.
Tough battle.
Get him.
Got him.
Beautiful.
Why are the fireworks still shooting at me? Is this entertainment for the penguins?
I'm going, Daddy.
Oh my god, I missed!
You fucking threw it on the wall.
Dude, shut up. I know.
You threw it on the wall.